What is a main event in the sports world? Most people consider it to be the main attraction of any sports card, and it's usually the last thing fans see before they go home. There isn't a set guy or even group of guys who main event Dynamite on a weekly basis, and that's the beauty of it. This is WrestleCore, and today we'll be discussing what makes AEW Dynamite main events so special. All Elite Wrestling's Wednesday Night Dynamite has been praised for many things since the show's debut back in 2019. But today I'm here to discuss something that actually has not been praised enough, and that's AEW's ability to craft beautiful main events for Dynamite to send the fans home happy, shocked, or flat out terrified at what they just saw. You see, most companies have what you would call a main event scene, with about 4 to 6 different wrestlers who will main event the show in a rotation. AEW is different though. You can tell they trust every member of their main roster to main event a show if the storyline is built strongly enough for it. They put faith in their wrestlers to go out there and perform. Dynamite main events are never predictable or repetitive. You can see an all-out brawl like the coffin match between AEW's former TNT champion Darby Allin and Ethan Page one week, then a classic example of pro wrestling wizardry like Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy the next week. You may see 2 women who want to kill each other in Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker in one week, followed by 2 teams willing to risk life and limb for a win like we saw in Arcade Anarchy. See, Dynamite doesn't have a formula they follow to book these main events. Usually you can't even predict what match is main eventing beforehand because the show is so unpredictable and each card has 2 or 3 different matches that feel main event worthy. The thing with these events that are so special is that you never know who can main event the card is. AEW and Tony Khan reward you for paying attention to the undercard with the payouts that they give you on Dynamite. A prime example of this is the rivalry that pitted the best friends against Miro and Kip Sabian. Admittedly, their feud did feel like it was dragging at times. Many fans could not wait for the rivalry to end. However, when Miro and Kip faced Trent and Chuck Taylor, they were given a chance to steal the show, and they did. They made everyone forget any complaints they had with the story or how long it lasted. This served several purposes. Not only did AEW end the feud in a bang, they were able to test the water with a group like the Best Friends main eventing again. We often forget wrestling is a career for the people involved, and for a lot of them it was something they dreamed about since they were kids. These main events, even if it's just one, means a lot to the superstars involved. Imagine being able to call your family and tell them, after 20 years of wrestling all over the world, you're finally able to get a chance to main event a show in front of a live crowd with a live TV audience. Imagine how proud you would be of yourself and how proud your family would be of you. Every match can't main event a pay-per-view, but when these guys see that they will at least get a chance to main event Dynamite, it keeps morale high because they know that if they perform well in their current program, they will be rewarded. Just think about some of the wrestlers AEW has trusted to main event an episode of Dynamite. These names include Rey Fenix, Kip Sabian, Jake Hager, Brian Cage, Santana and Ortiz, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, Evil Uno, and more. This breeds a sense of confidence in the locker room because every member knows they can be called anytime to main event a card, and they can be the one that gets the spotlight for the night. One thing I've noticed as well is that you never hear complaints about why a certain competitor is main eventing Dynamite. And you can tell it's because the audience knows that anyone can main event a Dynamite if the story persists. No one is gonna say, well, why is Rey Fenix main eventing tonight? He hasn't main evented a Dynamite in months, because they know that if what he's doing permits a main event role, he's going to be rewarded with the main event role. And that's what people want to see. They want to see a story be built in the opening card, 2 months ago, and paid off in a main event now. Because that's storytelling, that's progression. You can't have a feud end in the same place it began. And sometimes a feud needs that spotlight to breathe. Maybe their segments that built the feud were only getting 5 to 6 minutes, but they get a main event spot for 20 minutes that night. And it pays everything off, it ties a nice little bow on everything, and it makes everyone feel rewarded for paying attention to that feud in the first place. In this video, I also wanted to give some highlights to a few main events of AEW Dynamite over the past few months that may have been forgotten about. First off, I want to start with Darby Allin versus Jungle Boy. This will be a legacy feud in 10 years, and you will be happy that you got to saw the first time these two collided on April 28, 2021. We got to see the future of AEW, and we got to see 2 men the crowd absolutely loves battle it out for the TNT Championship. One day we'll look at this match as a starting point for that feud, and it'll make this match on Dynamite feel even more special. Blood and Guts was an all-out war. Regardless of how you feel about the finish, the match was one that we will never forget. Those 10 men went out there and decided that they were going to do whatever it took to get that match over, and they did. you could tell what it meant to a group like FTR, or someone up and coming like a Wardlow or a Sammy Guevara or Santana and Ortiz, that the company trusted them to put them in possibly the biggest match they've ever put on. They decided that these 10 men were the best of the best for this situation, and that has to breed a confidence in those men to know that the company puts that much faith in them to send them out there in a match with that many eyes on it and that much pressure, and they performed. Regardless, again, of how you feel about the finish, that match is one that we will never forget as long as we are alive. To finally get to see a War Games style match on television after I don't know how many years was just something special. Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker was the type of match you tell your kids about in 20 years that you were lucky enough to see live. Even if you don't like the current booking of AEW's women division, for one night they were on top of the world and nothing else mattered. They went out there like they had a point to prove to everyone. And if they did, then they did prove that point to all of us. That was all you would see anyone talking about for the next 2 days online, was Britt Baker's bloodied up face and what she was willing to put herself through to get the win. And the crazy part is that neither one of the competitors felt diminished by that performance. Even with the loss, Britt Baker felt like the biggest star in wrestling. And it's crazy to see how they were able to build her up even in defeat like that. Darby Allin versus Matt Hardy for the TNT Championship was one of those matches that made you realize why they brought Matt Hardy in. It's because he can deliver a performance like this one at the drop of a dime on an occasion when they need him to. He can provide the perfect foil for an up-and-coming babyface, which he did here, to where it felt like an achievement when Darby Allin was able to beat Matt Hardy. A lot of people forget how much of a legend Matt Hardy is in this business, but that match did mean something, and that match was important for the career of Darby Allin. That will be one of the matches you can tell people about in the next 10 or 15 years as one of the first legends Darby Allin was able to defeat when he was defending that TNT Championship for the first time. In closing, I just want to say you have to be proud of a company that puts this much faith in their wrestlers to main event any given show. You also have to sit back and realize we're watching guys like Darby Allin, Jungle Boy, and MJF grow in front of our eyes, and they already have such a major spotlight on them because the company trusts them. Sometimes you have to light a fire under a competitor to see if they sink or swim, and AEW gets that. In the end, that's all you can ask of a company, and it's a breath of fresh air to see new people get that shine. Alright guys, that'll be it for this video. Again, this is WrestleCore, and we will be producing videos like this every week, so if you want to stay involved in the conversation, give me a subscribe and feel free to turn those post notifications on so you can see when I upload new videos. Thank you for joining, and I will see you guys soon.